Alright guys, so sorry for the completeness array. I sold my welding cart because it was way too big. Haven't had time to build a new one yet. So my welder is sitting on some tire now. However, the moment that all of us that have a titanium welder have been waiting for, they finally came out with a spool gun. Now I know that there's a spool gun that works. I believe it's a Clutch 150. But I've been kind of waiting to see what Harper was going to do, because these are set up. The 140s, the MiG 170s, and the titanium 200s are set up for a spool gun. So it's just a matter of time until Harbor Freight came out with them. So Harbor Freight finally released this guy in January. So I ordered one, and it finally got here. Now it's time to put it to the test. I'm not going to do an unboxing or anything like that. We'll get this thing set up. And I have some 3/16 aluminum. We're going to be welding. And yeah, cool. Let's get to work. Okay, so something that I don't like about the titanium spool gun versus the Clutch 150 is that you have to disconnect your leads for your 10-foot lead from the welder. Now, I mean, like, that's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you have a welding car set up, like kind of like the one I had before, I just got rid of that one because it was way too big for my one-car garage. But you have it set up where you can have one of these leads just wrapped up somewhere and it's safe and out of the way. It would be ideal to not have to disconnect all this stuff every time you want to use a spool gun or switch over. All you would have to do is switch to gas. So just my 2 cents. Probably doesn't really matter that much to some of you. For me, that kind of sucks that it's that way, but we'll make it work. Cool, so we're set up now. I'm going to be welding some 3/16. I'm on 120 volts. According to the chart here, should not be doing 3/16 on 120 volts. But we're gonna. This is actually 1/8 inch. It says you shouldn't be able to do that. Definitely shouldn't be able to do 3/16. I think it can do it. We'll see how it goes. If I have to preheat it, I will. All I had 3/16, so that's just what we're gonna mess around with. Now we are gonna crank this thing way up. So close that up now. This is thicker than any steel I've welded with this thing. Let's go. Screw it, we'll call it 350 and 19 volts. What's this say? $19 and $4.40 for 14, so we'll crank that up a little bit more. We'll go for 40. Screw it. That's pushing it. That's really pushing it. Crank up the voltage a little bit. Okay, so it's really hot, but you can kind of see the profile there. Did a pretty good job there at the end. It was definitely starting to struggle to keep up. I literally have this thing maxed out right now, and you can kind of see there, right there, that's where I started on that pass. And it started out cold, and then as we went down, it started to smooth out. So I definitely think preheating is the way to go, and 3/16 is definitely pushing it on this guy. This next weld I do, I'm going to, I'll just weld another seam on here, but I'm going to turn it down. We're going to preheat the area, and then we'll weld it. Alright, I would call that preheated. Not enough wire speed? Maybe? Dirty, really dirty. Yeah, I'm not getting very good shielding there, and I'm not happy with how that's looking. I'm going to turn it back up. Back up. Okay. Nope. Made an uh-oh. Melted my first tip. Alright, we're back. So, I went to Lowe's and I picked, or Home Depot, and I picked up some more tips, just Lincoln contact tips. I picked up a stainless steel brush as well. You need aluminum really, really clean to weld it, and I wanted to make sure that my own ignorance wasn't, or I wouldn't say ignorance, I knew that I needed to do it, but me being lazy and not just going and getting a stainless steel brush to clean it had nothing to do with it. Make sure we're getting stuff cleaned properly. Because all I used was a flap disc to clean this stuff up initially that had been used on some rusty floorboards and a bunch of other stuff. So I got brand new stainless steel wire brush, I got some acetone, I also grabbed some 1/8 inch flat bar, just so we could see. I mean, we're running 3/16, so that's way more than what we should be running. I wanted to see if it would do it. And then that 1/8 inch, you cut up a couple little pieces, and we'll weld that stuff up and see how it does. I'd also like to clean this stuff up again and maybe I have some more 3/16s to do some more welding with it. And I do want to try the 53, 56, whatever it was, wire. I'm running 40, 43 right now. And I also turned up my gas a little bit. I was running about 22 cubic feet a minute, and now I'm running it about 28. So, as you can see, like here, pretty sooty, and that's from not having a good enough shield with the shielding gas. So, I'm gonna throw a new tip on, and we'll get back to work. All right, here we have 1/8 inch with 43 wire, about 21.5 volts right now. Wire speed's about 408. We'll see how it does. I haven't done any preheating. I want to not preheat because this is typically the thickness of metal or aluminum I'm going to be using. I don't have to preheat every single time. I figure we should probably be able to weld this no problem. Yeah, let's see. Let's figure it out. Alright, that is not working well at all. Alright, let's try this side, see how it does. Oh, we're doing so good. I burnt up a tip. All right, so I'm not gonna weld any more of this corner joint here. Here, I'll brush it out for you. I want to try it with the other wire, and I don't have any other 1/8 inch cut except for one more piece that we're gonna use for a butt joint. Now, this weld right here has extremely good penetration. That's totally acceptable. This thing didn't struggle at all with that. I absolutely feel confident that I can weld 1/8 inch on 120 volts with this welder and the spool gun. What's going on with this stuff is I'm getting the tip too close, and this is something you will learn really fast if you get one of these. With with welding aluminum, it's totally different than steel, and I've done it a few times, far less than I have steel. And it's just something you gotta get used to. But you get these tips too close, and it just burns them up, and then the aluminum melts to the tip, and it just ruins it. So I would highly recommend getting a lot of tips, especially if this is something you haven't done a whole lot, because you're just gonna burn through them trying to figure it out. It's all part of the process. It's fun. It's a little frustrating from time to time, but it's gonna make you a better welder. And what I'm trying to figure out right now is if this is something that I'm going to be able to use on really my boat. Is the reason I got this. I have a little John boat that I'm going to be doing some stuff to, and I want to be able to do it myself. And so being able to weld this 1/8 inch aluminum was extremely important, and it just did that no problem. Now 3/16 is going to be something we're going to have to kind of mess with, see if we can get that right. But this is not hard for it at all. That was quick, and you saw how fast that was. Alright, let's do a butt joint. Ideally what you would do with a butt is you would chamfer along this seam here at 45 degrees on either side. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to wake up the kiddos. But that's what you would ideally want to do. This will work. We're just welding stuff at this point. where's my brush go? Not bad. That'll do. All right. Let's have a look. I'm gonna grab my pliers. Okay, so right here, you can see that seam. It's the corner joint. Very happy with that. That turned out very good. And that is the butt joint. There's plenty of penetration there. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. That will absolutely do the trick. This is, like I said, this is 1/8 inch aluminum here. This is not the 3/16 that we were using earlier, but it did that very well, and that's realistically on 110, the most that I'm probably gonna weld, but we can screw around with the 3/16 a little bit more and see if we can get that to weld. Also, keep in mind, this was not preheated at all. If you were to preheat this, this would flow a lot better. I've got the welder turned up pretty high right now, but if you were to preheat it, you could run it a little cooler. As you see here, a little bit bigger glob on this end. See if I can get the lighting there for you. A little bit bigger glob over here, and then it really smooths out as this thing starts to heat up. Same thing down here, bigger glob, smooths out as it heats up. So if you were to preheat all that to start out with, it would have been a really good weld all the way through. All right, last up, we're gonna see. So I cleaned, this is the 3/16 metal here. I cleaned it with the stainless steel brush. We're gonna preheat it, and then I'm gonna see if we can get a good weld with it. Now that I'm starting to get things a little more dialed in. We're back to the 40-43 wire, the 53, 56. I just don't see that being a very good option for this welder, as long as it's hooked up with 120. I feel as though as soon as you go to 240, it'll work, or 220, it'll work probably just fine. But 120 with it is just not enough. And I mean, that's to be expected. We're already trying to weld stuff that's thicker than we're supposed to be, so figure we'll just go back to the 40-43 and try to weld this 3/16 again. Piece of cake, dude. Piece of cake. All right, let's clean that up. That was good. All right, I'm gonna run one more pass here. I'll show you why here in a second. But
Alright, so I want to do that again, and here's why. You can see my weld here, kind of a little hard to tell, but it's only on the top half and just barely comes down to the bottom. And at first glance, it's like, oh, it's not hot enough. But then you turn this thing over and you can see the penetration right in the very back, okay? So I ran down there, I had pretty poor visibility, stopped right here. And so I decided I want to do another pass. Immediately jumped in, did another pass, and that's what we ended up with. The profile on it's really good. This is with 4043 wire, not the 5356. That stuff didn't work out very well, but I mean, a little preheating, and we just welded 3/16 aluminum on 110 or 120 volts. That is outrageously cool. Alright, so that was a little interesting. We did have some decent welds there at the end, and pretty happy with it. Now, like, final thoughts on this thing. So this is the, for those of you that are unsure, this is the titanium 150 amp spool gun from Harbor Freight. This is a titanium MIG 170 welder from Harbor Freight as well. And I'm fairly happy with it. There's some things that I really don't like. I don't like how chintzy the plastic is on this cover here. I'm a little rough with things sometimes, and I feel like this might break, so I gotta be very careful with that. All the screws were pretty much loose. Had to go through and tighten those things up. But oh, and I don't like how this doesn't swivel. That would be cool if they could make that swivel, but whatever. Now I do like that this sticks out the back. That makes a huge difference. You can, if you're working on something welding for a while, you can kind of use it as a like kind of a crutch, and it kind of holds some of the weight back. These spool guns aren't light. I mean, they're not like overly heavy, but after welding for a while, they can get pretty heavy and obnoxious. Recommendations for somebody who has never welded aluminum is buy a lot of tips. Any Lincoln consumables will work on this, so that's nice. I just went to Home Depot, bought a bunch of tips, and I was burning through them like crazy. I think I went through like 5 or 6 tips, and all the welding that was done in the video is like all the welding that I did. We tried the 4043 and the 5356 wire. The 4043 worked fine, and there at the end we're getting figured out. I mean, shoot, we welded, what, 3/16 thick aluminum on 120 volts. Now this welder is only really rated to 14 gauge aluminum on 120 volts. You go up to 220 volts, and then you're rated to 3/16 aluminum. So we did with 120, with good penetration, 3/16. That's far outdoes my expectations with this. This is really cool. All I'm really ever going to be welding with this is like no more than 1/8 inch, because stuff's in my little jumbo. But who knows? I think honestly, like if I had 220, I could probably knock out some 1/4 inch. Especially if you chamfer that 1/4 inch and preheat everything, I think it'll do just fine. We did have to preheat the 3/16 to get it to weld right. And I think honestly, like with some more screwing around with this thing, I'll have it pretty dialed in with 3/16. 1/8 inch and below, absolutely, all day you can weld with this. Now, I did for the 3/16, this thing was literally turned all the way up. It could not get any hotter than it was. So keep that in mind. Overall, really I'm pleased with this thing. Some of you guys have been asking about the welder itself. It's great. The thing's been fantastic. The only issue that I've had is today, the regulator started leaking a little bit. But that's cheap and that's easy to fix. And I'm really glad that Harbor Freight is cutting corners on stuff like this, not this, right? They have short leads, kind of chintzy plastic stuff. But the welder itself is really great. In fact, it would be really cool to see Harbor Freight make like aftermarket parts for these things, or different companies make aftermarket parts for these kinds of welders. So you can start with a pretty good base welder and then modify it and make it better. Like one kind of complaint, I say complaint, it's not really a complaint. You only have 10-foot leads. Your ground's a 10-foot lead. Your torch is a 10-foot lead, and it would be really cool to have 20 feet. I could walk around my garage without really moving the welder around and get into different areas without it being tight. So it'd be really cool to see stuff like that come out. I don't think it'll happen, but who knows? Maybe. People make aftermarket parts for the Harbor Freight Predator engines, so who knows? Maybe we'll get some welding companies doing some stuff for these things. Yeah, other than that, here pretty soon I need to build a new welding cart for this thing. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should I make it out of aluminum or should I make it out of steel? We kind of got the capability to do both now. So let me know what you think, and whatever has the most comments, we'll go with that. Yeah, alright, thanks for watching, guys. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe, and keep following along. Thanks again for watching.